I think we're good. But let's get started. So, my name is Morgan, and Wellness Wednesdays are new, and I'm very excited to be presenting to you today. And I am an intern for Healthy Aging Association. And
Uh, my name is Vanessa. I am the lead coordinator of the Dignity at Home Fall Prevention Program, and we also help with other programs as well.
All I can
yeah.
see is Doris. Oops, I lost everything now.
And then we have Bonnie today, which is our guest speaker. And Bonnie, I'll allow you to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bonnie Rea with the Alzheimer Association today. I'm glad to be here.
Very nice. So uh, we'll move on. I do want to add a disclaimer that this is a recorded meeting. I don't know if you received my email, but it will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So for those who aren't able to make it today, or if you'd like a refresher on the course and what we talk about today, it's a great resource. So at the bottom of the screen here, I don't know if you want to take a screenshot with your phone, but this is our username on YouTube. It is Healthy Aging Association 171. And you can watch our videos at any time. I will have this video uploaded by next Thursday. So again, you do not need to keep your camera on if you do not want to. So we do want to send our warm welcomes and thanks for joining today. We're really excited to have you here. These Wellness Wednesday presentations are intended to educate the community with knowledge and resources that support independent living and successful aging. So we are part of the Healthy Aging Association, which is a nonprofit organization. I know a couple of you are participants for our Young at Heart Strength training class, which is amazing. Our mission is to help older Americans live longer, healthier, more independent lives by promoting physical fitness and sound health and nutrition practices. So we do provide our exercise instruction classes, such as the Young at Heart Strength Training class, and we do line dancing and Tai Chi Quan, which is great. And then, of course, we do our Go Green for Seniors, which is a 10-pound bag of fruits and vegetables every month. So we'll move on. This is our lesson plan for today. We are going to explore, Bonnie is going to explore the nature of brain diseases or brain disorders, cognitive decline. And then we're going to link how they interconnect with falling. So after that, we will identify strategies so you can promote optimal brain health. Bonnie will cover that. And then Vanessa and I will cover how to reduce the likelihood of falls. Okay, so just before Bonnie gets into her wonderful presentation, I wanted to explain what cognition is, why it's important, and how it could lead to falls, right? So human cognition is how our brain processes and understands information through thinking, learning from experience, and then using our senses. It includes knowledge, your memory, reasoning, problem solving, decision making, and language. So we will get into Bonnie's presentation now.
Thank you so much, Morgan. Hi, everyone. I just want to share with you, I'm an informal presenter. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to pop it in the chat. If it's something's going to be touching my presentation, I'll probably wait. But if it's something just to address right then there, I'm happy to do so. So my presentation really is going to be about dementia and brain health. I think this is a concern for a lot of folks. And so I want to really today provide you with a high-level overview of what happens when the brain ages, what is dementia, and then what are things that we can do to lower our risk reduction around changes in our cognitive thinking, changes to our brain thinking abilities, and maybe risk reduction to dementia. Next slide. So first and foremost, I kind of want to just do a grounding about the brain. I know I'm biased. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association, and all we do is talk about brains and brain health. And I think the brain is an absolutely very fascinating organ of our body. So I just want to share with you some fun facts, or facts that I think are fun. Did you know that the human brain weighs about 3 pounds? And that what nourishes that brain are our blood vessels. And when we pull and tease out all the blood vessels in the human brain, we estimate that there are 100,000 miles of blood vessels. This is enough to circle the earth 4 times. And that what is really fascinating, and I think it leans into when we talk about risk reduction, is that our brain can create new connections throughout our life. So while it's not creating new brain cells, it's about the connections between brain cells, and that these new connections really provide a protective factor, what we call cognitive reserve. And we'll touch on that a little bit later today. Next slide. So we all get older. There's no fountain of youth. I don't think anyone has that secret fountain of youth. And if they are, they're not sharing it with me, because I'm starting to go through the aging process myself. One half of my head is kind of gray and the other half is not so much. Um, but, we recognize that the body ages. We see the change in our muscle tone, the change in our mobility. We see the graying of our hair, the wrinkling of our skin. And sometimes it's kind of hard to really understand how the brain changes because we don't really get to see it regularly, right? So I want to just really highlight biologically, the brain does change. Parts of the brain shrink. Communication between the brain cells or neurons may not be as effective as it used to be. The blood flow in the brain as we age may also decrease. So that's the biological changes that's happening in the brain that we really don't see. But when we look at the functional changes of what we consider normal aging as it relates to our cognition, our brain, it's what we find is that we are a little bit slower in finding the words or recalling names. So, think about the tip of the tongue moment. You know the word you want to use, but it's hard to pull. And when I do presentations in person, almost every hand raised up when I ask them, how many of you guys experience that? And how many of you feel like as you're getting older, it happens more often? And so that's kind of within normal aging, that it's a little bit slower to find the words, recall a name, or recall a detail. We may also notice that we're not as nimble, that we're not able to multitask in the same way as we used to. And there might be some changes in our ability to really sustain and pay attention. And so overall, these changes happen. And what it really reflects is maybe a slowing down of the brain. We're not as quick to find the word. We're not as quick to change between tasks. Our attention, we might need to give a little bit more effort to really sustain the attention that we normally provide. Overall, it doesn't really change the way how you function, how you communicate, how you behave. So I want to kind of make it clear that the brain ages, there's biological changes that do lead to some functional changes. Overall, the impact of these biological and functional changes in a healthy brain does not change the way you typically live your life. So however you've been living your life for these past few decades should remain pretty much the same. Next slide. So before I move on to the next kind of piece, which I'm going to shift gear and talk a little bit about what is dementia, what is Alzheimer's, I want to just check to see if there's any questions in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself about what I share so far about the brain. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. So I want to just shift gear and talk a little bit about what is dementia. I think we've all heard the terms dementia and Alzheimer's, and I want to take a moment in your afternoon today to really just clarify, what do we really mean by these two terms? And I also want to provide you of how does dementia and Alzheimer impact the US? What is the landscape? So our facts and figures actually came out. So there's some changes in some of these statistics I'm going to share with you. But what did not change is that we estimate that there are nearly 7 million Americans living with Alzheimer's disease. And by 2050, if nothing really changes, the number of individuals age 65 and older who will get Alzheimer dementia is projected to reach nearly 13 million. Next slide. What changed here? This is the part where it changed a little bit in our latest facts and figures. Currently, we know that Alzheimer's disease does not impact the individual only. There are family and friends and communities that provide support. And so we currently actually estimate that there are 12 million Americans. So that's what's new. There's more folks who provide unpaid care to someone living with Alzheimer or another dementia. And we look at the hours they provide and the value of the care they provide. Our current statistics, which just came out yesterday, shows that they provide more than 19 billion hours of care, unpaid care, value at nearly $413 billion. So we can see that Alzheimer not only impacts the individual changes that they experience along this journey, but it has impact on the family, friends, and community that support them. And that for many family and friends, the unpaid care that they provide isn't always acknowledged and recognized. So I kind of just want to highlight some of these statistics for you all. Next slide. So I've been using the terms Alzheimer and dementia, using it interchangeably, but I really want to take a moment to really clarify what these two words really mean. We are at a very exciting time in understanding brain health and in our understanding of dementia. And so we are at a point in time where that we recognize that dementia has many different types, Alzheimer's being one of those types. So I want to clarify when someone says, or when the doctor says, Bonnie, you have dementia, what the doctor really just said is, Bonnie, you're having a cognitive decline. So a condition of cognitive decline that's severe enough to impact daily functioning. So in other words, when the doctor says, Bonnie, you have dementia, he or she just said that my memory, my thinking, my reasoning, maybe even my mood and personality is changing for the worse, and that we're seeing that it impacts the way I live my daily life. It's severe enough to impact my daily life. It doesn't tell you more than that. It just tells that I'm experiencing a condition. I hope that my family, my friends, the community that I live in, if they hear that I have dementia, they will eventually ask and follow up with the follow-up question of, do we know what type? Because when we know the type of dementia, it gives us a little bit more information. So listed here on the right on your screen are some of the more commonly diagnosed dementia, so the first four, and then also towards the bottom, highlighting that there are other conditions, medical conditions or medical diagnoses that do have a dementia condition as part of their disease process. So I want to just take a moment and really highlight Alzheimer's. The reason why we hear Alzheimer and dementia so much in the media, in the news, is because it is the most common type. 60 to 80% of older adults with a dementia condition have Alzheimer's type. Alzheimer is characterized by plaques and tangles in the brain. So the amyloid plaques and the tau tangles ultimately create cell death, leading to that brain to shrink down quite dramatically, much more than what we consider normal aging. One of the first signs we typically see with Alzheimer is short-term memory changes. But as the disease impact more and more of the brain, we're going to see more of the brain changing along the way, meaning we're also going to see communication changes, thinking changes, judgment changes, mood and personality. So that's Alzheimer's in a quick nutshell. Vascular dementia is considered to be the second most common type of dementia here in the US. Unlike Alzheimer, it's actually related to a blockage of blood flow to the brain. So our blood vessels in the brain are not as healthy. Our heart may not be as healthy, not able to pump enough blood and bringing the nutrients and the oxygen to the brain. So it's really related to the damage of not having enough blood flow, impaired blood flow in the brain. And depending where the brain is impacted, we may see changes there. So in other words, with vascular dementia, memory may not be the first sign, just depends where the brain has been damaged. It progresses in a step-like manner, meaning, I'm doing really well. And then there's the accumulation of the vascular changes in the brain that leads to a decline. And I might get back better, but I'm never quite at my baseline and I'm doing really well. And then there's a decline. So it's kind of stepping down if you think about the progression. So for families caring for someone with vascular dementia, sometimes the changes that they see in their loved one feels very abrupt, very dramatic, compared to someone caring for a loved one with Alzheimer, which is more gradual changes. Lewy body dementia is related to a protein called alpha-synuclein in the brain. This presence of protein in the brain typically do cause memory as one of the first changes. But the person with Lewy body dementia may also have visual hallucinations, may have a sleep disorder where they act out their dreams, and they may also have motor changes, what we call Parkinsonian-like symptoms. So there's some little difference there that earlier on we're going to be dealing with maybe hallucination as well as motor changes, not just only memory. The last one I want to cover today is frontotemporal dementia. This really relates to changes in the frontal part of our brain, which is this front part, the frontal lobe, and our temporal lobes, which is on the side. The frontal lobe of our brain is our personality, our impulse control, and our temporal lobes are communication centers, so to speak. So someone with frontotemporal dementia tend to have maybe more behavioral changes, more language changes, and not necessarily just memory. So I want to just highlight these four very quickly, and I do want to pause and check in with you all to see if there's any questions around these different types of dementia.
I think that Lowry body is what I've got because it's shaky hands and all that stuff.
So I think I heard someone say that they experienced Lewy body dementia and experiencing the shaky hands, kind of the motor changes related to it. Was that correct?
Yes, I didn't realize you could hear me. I just was saying to my friend that I was thinking that my dementia, it might be this Lowry body because I have shaky hands and I seem to knock things over. Is that included with it?
Yeah, so with Lewy body, we tend to see those motor changes a lot earlier on. So the differences that I just described, we tend to see these distinction in the early stages of the disease. And if you keep in mind, we only have one brain, and as more of it gets impacted by the disease process, no matter what different type, we're going to see overlapping changes. So with Alzheimer's, we may see the hallucination and the motor changes that we may see in Lewy body more in the middle to late stages of the disease, whereas Lewy body, we're seeing it earlier on. So I want to just be clear, the distinction I mentioned between these different types really tend to be in the early stages. In the middle and late, we're seeing overlapping changes because it's one brain that's doing everything for us, right? The other thing I want to highlight is the terminology mixed dementia, which is really a term that really indicates that there's more than one type of dementia happening. So there could be someone living with Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia, or someone living with vascular dementia and Lewy body, any combination, just having more than one. This creates complexity in the care. So this is where I think it is helpful to know the difference so we know what we are anticipating, how can we best support the individual from wherever we are at with them in the journey. Next slide.
Hello.
Yes.
If someone has memory loss issues from a stroke, would that be classified under vascular?
So someone with a history of stroke may lead them to have vascular dementia. It is a risk factor for that. And we're going to talk a little bit about heart health and brain health in a little bit. So it could be a risk factor for vascular. Also, as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about heart health and brain health. Cardiovascular issues also another risk factor for Alzheimer's. So these are really complex diseases and different types. And so just knowing some of what they are and the differences may help us understand the risk factors as well. Speaking of risk, yes, was there another question?
No, that's it.
Great question. Thank you.
Speaking of risk, I want to also highlight that Alzheimer's disease and other dementia impact different populations differently. What research currently tells us is that Black Americans are twice as likely, and Hispanic Americans are 1.5 times as likely to have Alzheimer's disease or another type of dementia. And when we look from a gender's lens, we know that what we see is that 2/3 of Americans living with Alzheimer's disease are women. So we see that there are different populations at greater risk. There's a lot of current study delving into the social determinants of health, looking at to seeing what may be different and why these populations are more impacted. So we can again understand the risks and hopefully come up with maybe a plan for risk reduction and hopefully maybe a plan for prevention in the future. Next slide. So I hope you guys glean a little bit better about what is Alzheimer and dementia, that there are two different terminologies that do mean different things. I want to just briefly go over what are the warning signs. So as you understand, Alzheimer and other type of dementias are not part of the normal aging process. And so when we become concerned about somebody, what are we looking for? And here are the 10 warning signs that the Alzheimer Association has put forth. It's really meant to be a guide for you to understand and tease out what's normal and what is problematic for an individual. So it doesn't constitute a diagnosis, but it helps you understand. And I'm going to just read through these 10 warning signs and talk a little bit about how to really understand these signs. So the 10 warning signs may be memory loss that disrupt daily life. This typically refers to what we typically see as short-term memory loss, first changing, disrupting the person's ability to manage their daily life. So forgetting new information like appointment or a person they just met, kind of losing that information, never ever really being able to retain it. Challenges in planning or solving problems and difficulty completing familiar tasks. These kind of touch on what I consider as executive functioning. For those not familiar, executive functioning really refers to our brain's powerful ability to do multi-steps, multitasking, be able to really hold abstract thought and manipulate that information. And so the ability to plan and solve plan for things, solve a problems, doing things that's familiar requires us to really be able to do really high level thinking abilities. And if we see changes, it may indicate that someone is having problematic issues. So changes may look like it takes them a lot longer to do something that's familiar or solving a problem that might be easy. I like to share that I'm a social worker because I do not like math. So it takes me quite a bit of time to do it, like to calculate a tip. Whereas my husband loves number. My sister loves number. My sister's the engineer in the family. My husband's great at, simple math and calculating things. Where it can take me maybe a minute to calculate a tip, it's going to take them like 10, 20 seconds. So for them, if I'm seeing that they take as long as I do, I might start getting a little bit worried. Is there something going on, right? That's what's different for them. Confusion with time or place, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. This one I think kind of ties into your conversation today about falls, because it's really about the brain's ability to interpret visual images and spatial relationship. Someone with dementia who has these type of visual changes, it's not their eyes not being able to see correctly and needing like glasses for correction or addressing glaucoma or macular degeneration issues, but it's really about how the brain perceives that information. So, for example, someone with dementia, especially in the middle stages of the disease, may not be able to really, their brain may not really be able to detect color contrast. So if you were to put white rice in a white bowl and put that in front of them, they may not know that it's dinner time or that you serve them dinner because they just see an empty bowl. They're not perceiving the color nuances, the spatial changes with the white rice in a white bowl. But if you were to put the white rice in a contrasting color, a red bowl or an orange bowl, they are going to see that difference and it might help them see that, oh, there's food that's been placed in front of me. So kind of giving you some ideas and understanding around that. Other signs may be new problems with words and speaking or writing, misplacing things, and then losing the ability to retrace steps, changes in judgment, withdrawal from work or social activities, changes in mood and personality. These are signs to look out for if you feel like it's problematic for somebody that, hey, Bonnie's not acting the same way as she typically, there's something off. It might be helpful to pull these warning signs and see what about her thinking, what about her cognition is changing, what's becoming problematic. And if you see this, it's helpful to journal, keep track of what the changes are, encourage the person, whether it's yourself or someone you care about, to really ultimately see a doctor to see if it is dementia. There's so many other health conditions, health issues that can mimic that. And when we address it earlier on with the help of our doctor, it may resolve these changes. And if it doesn't, then it helps them really understand what is happening to them as early as possible. I'm going to pause and just check in to see if there's any questions or any questions in the chat, or folks that want to come off mute. If not, next slide. So I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer on this nice afternoon. I really want to talk about what do we know. And like I mentioned earlier, I think it's an exciting time in terms of our understanding of brain health and dementia. And we are at a place where we have better understanding of what we can do to promote brain health, reduce our risk for cognitive decline, and possibly reduce our risk for dementia. What's kind of really exciting is the Lancet Commission did a couple study looking at dementia cases worldwide, looking at this on a really large level. And they concluded that about 40 to 45% of dementia cases globally may potentially be prevented or delayed through modifiable risk factors. So in other words, modifiable risk factors tend to lean towards healthy choices that we can make in our lifespan. And so here on this slide, it is the 10 healthy habits for your brain that the Alzheimer Association has put forth, pulling from the current body of research of things we can do through our lifetime, no matter how young or how late we are in our lifespan, that can help us promote good brain health. And so things like challenging your brain, challenging your mind, staying in school, moving, so physical activity, protecting your head, which I think kind of leads into your conversation about falls and fall prevention, being smoke-free, controlling blood pressure, managing diabetes, eating right, maintaining a healthy weight, and sleeping well. So I want to just encourage you to know that you're likely doing something that's promoting good brain health. And really the shift in the research is continuing to explore other risk factors, but also looking at it when we do these things with intention.
I don't look like that either.
And being really mindful about it. And how does that help us really reduce the risk of dementia in our lifetime? Next slide. So I want to really touch on something that has kind of come across all of these different studies that look at healthy life choices or modifiable risk factors. And one of the big message that has come across through multiple studies indicate that there's a really strong heart and brain connection. So whatever we can do to protect our heart can also help protect our brain. And that we know the brain as a fascinating organ. It really depends on the oxygen and the nutrients that come through the blood vessels, the bloodstream, the blood flow in order to work at its best. And so here's another fun fact, that 25% of the blood from every heartbeat goes to the brain. The rest goes to the rest of the body. So think about how much that brain relies on the blood and where that heart and brain connection really is tied together. Next slide. I want to just kind of highlight one of these healthy habits. I think that is most fun to talk about. I really like the healthy habit about challenging your mind. And what the research tells us about this area is that when we keep our mind active, our brain cells are able to form new connections. This is what research will use the terminology cognitive reserve. You're building up your cognitive reserve, or some other research studies will sometimes use the term neuroplasticity. How do we keep our brain nimble? That when there is changes or trauma, damage to the brain, that our brain is still able to recover and still be able to continue to function the way it normally should or would have. And so we also know that when we stay cognitively active, challenging our mind, it also encourages good blood flow to the brain. And the other area of what research tells us is when we engage in formal education, it can really help us build this cognitive reserve. And so I want to just kind of just highlight, what does it mean when we talk about challenging your mind? And what does the research really say? Next slide. So I want you guys to name some examples of things when you think about challenging your mind. What are things that you do that challenges your mind? And I hope folks will come off mute or type it into the chat.
Is Michelle here? Michelle, what do you do to challenge your mind? Do you want to mute her? Mm-mm. Okay. Well,
Well,
I know that I like to play puzzles.
so puzzles.
Yeah, I love puzzles. I think they're great. Um, I also like to video game, but in my video gaming, it's like connecting things together, making them fit. Um, that's something I really enjoy as well.
And I think that's kind of common. What you mentioned, Morgan, is,
Mhm.
when I ask this question, a lot of people will tell me I like to do puzzles. I like to do
Yeah.
a word search or crosswords. And I say, do those if you like it. If you don't, there are so many things you can do to challenge your brain. And here on this particular slides are some examples, such as learning a new skill or a hobby that challenges you. Trying, if you like to cook or you like to eat, if you're me, I don't really like to cook. I can try cooking. But if you like to cook, try a different cooking technique. Take a class that interests you. It's really about getting your brain to focus and do things a little differently. So, like, even something as simple and as silly as me telling you to write with your non-dominant hand, meaning if you're right-handed and writing with your left, that gives your brain a little bit of a challenge. And we want to do things that you like, because if you do things you like, you're going to keep doing it, but make sure that it is challenging. So I like to share, I love to read. I'm actually a romance and fantasy reader. And the way I can challenge my brain a little bit more is maybe choosing a different genre. So maybe reading historical fiction, an autobiography, reading a different way, because these different genres have a different way of world building or a way of communicating its content. Or I could even change author. Instead of reading within the similar authors, finding somebody who writes a lot differently within the same genre that I like. These are little things I can do that help challenge my brain that I'm likely going to stick with. I don't like crosswords, puzzles at all. You're not going to see me pull that up and do that on the weekend. I don't really quite enjoy it. So between reading a different genre, reading a different author, I'm going to do that versus puzzles. So I want you to just recognize that we all are probably doing something every day, but just finding ways to make it a little bit more challenging. When it becomes easy and you can tell people, oh, I can do that with my eyes closed, then you're losing that benefit of that challenge. So it's how do you shift gear and make it a little just harder for you. So in the next few slides, I hope you all will participate with me. But I have a couple, I think three, not a couple, so not two, but three, little puzzles, brain games, as I call it, to see if you guys will like doing that. So I think I'm looking in the chat.
Yeah.
And some folks shared that,
Mhm.
diagnosing and fixing my vintage car. So yeah, kind of problem solving. What is the issue right there, right? When you're diagnosing and then coming up with the solution. Gardening can, I think it kind of gardening depending, I kind of think it leans towards physical activity because you can work up a pretty big sweat pulling up weeds. But how are you thinking about how do you plan your garden? What kind of plants are you thinking about? Being intentional in that. Or if you notice that there's a plant that's not thriving, trying to figure out what is the solution, solving that problem. So there are things like that that you can totally do in your everyday life that adds a bit of that challenge. So I hope you guys are ready for a little bit more interaction with me, with a couple of brain games, or I keep saying couple, but I think there's three, a few brain games. Let's move to the next slide.
Okay, here we go. All right.
All right. So how many blocks are in this structure, this picture of this,
Like
I don't
that.
know, lack of word
That's good.
structure? You guys could shout it out. You guys
There's
participate in the
five.
chat.
5.
So someone said 5. Any
Five.
other guesses?
You heard me.
No, 3,
How many blocks
3,
are in
4,
Nine.
5,
I'd
6,
say 9.
7, 9. I say 9 also.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, you counting the ones you can't
You have
see?
to, you have to count the ones you can't see it.
I love the interaction. It's great.
3, 5, 6, 10. There are 10.
Because there's ones behind
There's
those.
3 and 2 more. There's
11.
5,
11.
6, 7, 8,
Well-
9. I say 9.
So I heard 5, I heard 9, I heard 10, 11. I heard the conversation, and this is exactly it. Is on face value, you might just count the blocks that you see. But upon a closer examination, you're thinking, oh, there are blocks behind or the blocks that we can't see. And then figuring out how do you count those. So the correct answer is 9.
Oh, what'd you
Um,
say?
Was it
Oh,
9?
I
Go
said 11.
Steve.
There's
Good job,
3 there.
Steve.
3,
Steve
4,
got
5,
it.
6, 7, 8, 9.
10, 11.
No,
Okay, 9.
I was counting the squares, right? I was counting these at first, and then I had to rethink and say, oh, that's right. Bonnie asked me to count the
there's 9.
blocks, right? Not the
Yeah,
squares
because you just have to
here.
figure what.
yeah,
what
there's
they're not.
3.
and so
And
Morgan, as
2
what
and
you
1.
just share is you
And
have
2
to
and
break
1.
down the
And 3
instructions,
unseen.
Right.
understanding what constitute a
Unseen.
block when we're looking at it on a
Right.
2D flat image.
That's what
How do
Yeah.
we depict that? So this is our brain, as simple as the question was how many blocks. Look at what our brain is doing. We had to
Mhm.
understand what we're being asked, understanding what is a block on a 2D image, being able to mentally manipulate this structure to be able to mentally see however it is that you do it, whether it is actually rotating it. For me, it's just imagining separating the first 4 blocks there and seeing what's behind. That's how I kind of counted the blocks in my head.
Right.
You're doing a lot more, and this is just a fun little quick game that we're doing, but this is giving you an example of how your brain is breaking down the instructions, taking the information, the visual information you're seeing, the auditory information that I'm providing to you, and you're breaking it down to solve the problem.
Right.
I hope you guys found
Great.
that fun.
It is.
If so, if we're ready for the next one, we can go to the next slide. This is something similar. How many triangles do you guys see in this image?
Oh shit, a lot.
A lot. That's a good answer. I will tell you, it's definitely more than 9.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize my mic was on.
You guys are welcome. I'm an informal presenter.
Yeah,
Please
we're
Oh, I mean,
very
that
informal
dropped to-
here.
dropped to-
This
That
is-
dropped to Ben. Okay.
Don't
come off
worry.
mute if you guys like to talk it through. Enter
Yeah.
it if you don't want to. But as a clue, it is more than 9.
Bonnie, I'm counting over and over again. I'm not even getting close to 9, which is very interesting.
I got 10.
I'm getting 7. So what are you in the chat getting? Because hopefully you can help me out. Michelle said 11 for Diane and for herself as well.
So it's more than 11.
More than 11. Wow.
I counted 11 and then I saw some more and that's when I had my outburst. I stopped counting at that point.
I understand.
Just let me know when you guys are ready for me to tell you the answer.
I'm ready.
Okay. So the answer is
Michelle's
actually,
ready.
I see the big yes. So the answer for this one is 18. So this one requires you, again, to understand what is a triangle, breaking down that language to what we all understand as a triangle. And then looking at this image and breaking it down into smaller pieces. So we can count the whole image as one triangle. And then if we were to take the bottom third, we see the second triangle, right? And we take that middle row and the bottom, we see another one. So there's 3 right there. And then you can count the smaller ones. It's hard without having a pointer because I'm just pointing and you just see me waving my fingers.
I
But
think you're
the
talking
idea
about
is
these.
we could break it down into those. So it's your brain's ability to take this image, break it down to smaller pieces in different ways, however your brain first sees it, and being able to do simple math, keeping a tally in your brain. These are all example of our executive functioning right here. But it is powerful because you're being challenged to do something you're normally not asked to do. And you can see we all got a little bit different answers because we see it differently. We understood the question a little differently. So the last one here does not require any more math. I'll promise you that. No more counting. Um, so we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
So this is an image of gift bags, and hidden among this image of gift bags is a holiday greeting card. Can you find it?
Ah,
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
you see it?
It's red with green trees. Is that it?
Ah,
There's no handle on it.
Yep. And
wow.
that's the answer.
Yeah.
And this one is about, again, your brain's ability to put away, focus, and sift through all these extra information we don't need. So one, having an idea what a greeting card would look like compared to a gift bag. So like I think it was Steve that came off mute said, the one without a handle. So recognizing the one without a handle. Being able to sift through all this color, all that distracting patterns and finding that holiday card. So hopefully these brain games were fun. It was
Mhm.
uplifting, hopefully, and you guys enjoyed it. Next slide. I just want to leave with you that you are likely doing something for your body and ultimately something for your brain. But if you feel like you're not doing enough or you're really motivated to do more, you can review the healthy habits that I shared earlier and find a new healthy habit you want to take charge of or do more
Yeah,
of.
that's the
So I want to leave with you with some
meeting
thoughts
ID.
of what can you be doing or what are you doing to think about one healthy habit that you already have. What is one change you can make now if you're not engaged in a healthy habit, or how can you do more in that area? Think about what is one change you can do within 3 months. And think about what your goal is, setting yourself a goal. And think about what would be something that will help make you successful. And if anyone wants to share a healthy habit that they already have and a change they want to make, or a tip to how we can maybe be able to meet our goal, whatever our individual goals, feel free to share. But I do want to leave you with that idea of taking this information I share with you and putting something in place for yourself for a healthier you. Does anyone want to share?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, well, I walk every day. I walk my dog.
That's
That's my healthy habit.
healthy habit right there.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
You have a healthy habit.
Someone share in the chat, good
I,
eating habits.
I work in the garden
Good.
a lot. I'm
Garden.
outside doing planting and weeding, etc.
So
So
physical activity.
physical activity there.
I don't think they
Did she hear you?
We did.
I don't
The gardening?
Mhm. And physical activity will definitely increase the blood flow to the brain, like Bonnie has discussed in her presentation as well. Have a
Someone
couple more
wrote that they
chat.
just got an e-bike. Another person said they would like to increase their walking cardio activity. So there are things that we are doing, and I want to acknowledge and recognize that because we are living a healthy life. And there are areas that we can do more. Do what interests you. What does healthy mean to you? You're likely going to stick with it. Set yourself a goal. Is it, I'm going to go on for the person who wrote, they just got an e-bike. Is it maybe a goal for this week is getting on that e-bike this weekend and riding however long you want to ride. And maybe you set a goal for where do you want to be in 3 months? And then just think about what is a tip or what is something that makes you successful. I'll be honest, for me, it's actually writing it down on a calendar. For me, I have to plan it into my daily
That's
life.
everybody.
If I don't do that, I can say great words. I'm going to go on a walk. It's not going to happen unless it's on my calendar and my little watch or my phone will chime me saying it's time for me to get up and do a little walk, even if it's a 5-minute, 10-minute walk around the neighborhood. For me, it has to be put into my calendar. With that, I like to move to the next slide and wrap up with you all. So I just want to share with you a little bit about the Alzheimer Association. If you're not familiar with the Alzheimer Association, I want you to know that our vision is really a world without Alzheimer's, and we do that in many different ways. We provide information through our 24/7 helpline. So if you have a question about what you learned today, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? You heard it, but wasn't sure if you understood it correctly, give us a call. We're happy to give you disease information about Alzheimer's and other type of dementia. If you are in a caregiving journey, you're supporting someone, know that our helpline can connect you to community resources. And we also have master level clinicians that can work with you on care guidance, care planning.
Oh, no.
We have a wonderful website that has all of this information there. If you want to learn more about the 10 warning signs, you can go to alz.org/10 signs and you'll get to that portal. If you want to learn more about the healthy habits, I want to say it's alz.org/healthy habits. We also have a community resource finder. This is our resource directory that we share with AARP, where you can search what is available in your local community. Type in your zip code, select the category of interest, whether it is education programs from the association or education programs from AARP to home care in the community, to whatever it may be. You can see what we offer through our community resource finder. We have ALS Connected, which is a social online messaging board designed to provide support for those who are living with the disease and their caregivers. We offer education programs. So if you are interested in learning more, diving a little bit deeper than what I covered today, please check out our education programs. You can find what's happening in your area by calling the helpline or going to Community Resource Finder. So in summary, I just want to share with you who the Alzheimer Association is and how are we here to be of support to you all. With that, I turn it back to Morgan.
Thank you, Bonnie. That was a fantastic presentation. Okay, so you may be wondering, what does this have to do with fall prevention? And you just wait, we're going to get to that. So, Bonnie has already talked about the populations at risk, and I want to really interconnect how cognitive decline is related to an increased number of falls as well as an increased risk for falling. So older adults with cognitive disorders have twice the risk for falls compared to older adults who are cognitively normal. And according to the Alzheimer's Association, 26% of hospitalizations were attributed to falls and trauma. Additionally, older adults diagnosed with Alzheimer's disorder are 5 times more likely to lose their functional independence, relying on caregivers and rehabilitation settings. So, my grandfather, just to get some personal relatability here, my grandfather, he has dementia, severe dementia, severe Alzheimer's, and he has fallen 4 times within the past month. So as it's rapidly declining, he is experiencing more falls. And that's what Vanessa and my role is here today, is to provide you with a program that we have in place for you, and then immediate measures you can take today to prevent falls. And then if you couple that with the information Bonnie's given you, let's reduce the risk of falls and Alzheimer's all in one. Okay. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa, who's going to talk about dignity at home, aging in place.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I am. All right. Can you hear me? I hope you guys can hear me. I am, like I said, the lead coordinator of the Dignity at Home Fall Prevention Program. So what this program offers is fall prevention education, as well as possible fall prevention accessories for qualifying individuals, all at no cost. Our mission is to reduce the number of debilitating falls suffered by older adults in Stanislaus County. And some immediate preventative measures that we would like to go over is, if you can go on the next slide, is fall proofing the house, wearing the proper shoes and clothing, using assisted devices, and fueling your body, and annual physicals with your physician. So for fall proofing your house, removing clutter and tripping hazards, such as electrical cords, throw rugs, any boxes that you have in the way, maybe dog toys, cat toys, any type of toys. Maybe you have grandkids over, their toys as well, removing them out of the way, especially out of your walkway. The shoe wear and clothing, we typically recommend closed-toe, non-slip shoes. And then using non-slip socks as well as non-slip slippers. Anything that goes around your heel, that way it has a lot more support and balance. As fueling your body, hydrating is extremely important. Well-balanced meals as well. And then vitamin supplementations, if you consult with the doctor, of course. And then annual physicals with your physician, as I said. Maybe an additional one is installing fall alert systems, such as Alexa or Google Home. I believe they even offer smartwatches, affordable ones on Amazon. And maybe if you qualify, life support bracelets as well.
What Bonnie was saying earlier, you know, we really have, which is connected to, right? So,
Morgan, we can't hear you.
oh my goodness. Okay. So, all I was saying is I wanted to inform everybody that most falls actually occur backward, right? Which really ties in with what Bonnie was saying about the poor judgment associated with cognitive decline. So that's something we can definitely go over in the future. I know we're running short on time here. I do want to do a quick Q&A, and this is our first session, right? I cannot be great unless you give me feedback and let me know what you really need at this time. So if we don't get to it today, don't worry. I will send out emails thanking you. We do want to tell you about a raffle though, and Vanessa will share that with you quickly.
All right. So I'm pretty sure you guys know about our Age with Movement celebration this Friday. Are any of you attending? Hope you.
I know Michelle is.
Yes. All right. So someone kindly donated raffle tickets for anybody that can buy any or just to give out. We would like for you to put your first and last name and phone number in the chat, and we will be providing or rewarding 5 raffle tickets for everybody that showed up as an appreciation for attending. So we thank you all for coming.
I do want to let you know you don't need to put your phone numbers in the chat. I have your phone numbers. I've contacted all of you. first and last name would be great, but I want to do some questions. We have a few minutes here and then we have to wrap up for the day. Does anyone have questions for myself, for Bonnie, for Vanessa? Let's hear your thoughts or feedback. I'm always happy for feedback too.
I'll share that I thought it was all very interesting and
Good.
I did learn stuff. And it's insightful to know, even if it's not applicable today.
Right. Right.
It's good stuff. Thank you for
Absolutely. Yeah.
Vanessa
You're
and
welcome.
Morgan.
Is there any topic you would like to know about in the future? Is there something that we didn't quite cover today that you'd really like to cover? Any thoughts there?
I'm sure you'll probably get to it at some point, but Morgan, when I spoke with you on the phone, I told you I didn't really think I was at risk for a fall, but I started since we've spoken, I started having like some hip pain, and at one point, like my leg about gave out completely. I realized that
Oh,
I actually am at risk for a fall.
yeah,
So I did,
absolutely.
once I started paying attention to it, but I'm sure at some point you'll cover that sort of a thing. But that's what was one thing that was came to mind since I signed up for this is that I'm going to learn risks that
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware of.
And my background is I have my bachelor's in exercise science, so got you covered on exercise as well, especially with some hip pain. When I'm going into an occupational therapy program where I plan to earn my doctorate. So it's great practice for me. You're helping me, I'm helping you. So thank you so much for sharing that thought. Is there anyone else who would like to share or ask a question? Okay, I'll go because I have a question for Bonnie. Bonnie, can medications people take for Alzheimer's symptoms like antidepressants, make them more likely to fall? Do you know that?
I think if you're talking about medications that address the cognitive issues,
Hmm.
um, it it could be. I think any medications can sometimes alters a person's state, their awareness, if it makes them feel foggy. So I think all medication could have a fall risk component to it. Is it a common one for the cognitive one, like Aricept and Namenda? I haven't actually heard, but oftentimes someone with dementia is also taking other medication if the dementia has impacted, like to your point, has caused depression or taking anti-anxiety medication. And those I do know how sometimes have some of those risk factor to it.
Right. And I think that not, even if you aren't experiencing dementia-related symptoms, Alzheimer's, if you are taking these medications, which we will get into in another topic another time, but I just want to let you know that also increases your risk for falls too, right? It can make you drowsy or sleep, you get the point, dizzy. So, we'll bring that up in another session. And I'll have one more question, but I would like someone in the chat to ask a question if you have one. Let's see, we got Holly's name down. Okay. Okay. I think that will conclude it for the day. I will email you personally and we'll check in and thank you for supporting our first time hosting these Wellness Wednesdays. And thank you so much, Bonnie. Your presentation was very insightful and just something we don't think about regularly that will get those wheels spinning.
Thank you everyone for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. All right. Last thing, next session will be on June 25th. Take note, no sessions in May. Okay, and we'll have our guest speaker, Dr. Robert Chin. He'll be discussing chronic diseases, and then we'll get into fall prevention, where I'll take the feedback that I gather from you after this session, and I'll try to incorporate more of your wants and needs into that next Wellness Wednesday. Okay, so thank you so much, and that's it for today. You all take good care.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.